Welcome back to my channel. Today we have two tutorials for you. One, we're going to create this art journal page with penguins, and we're also going to create a tag using different background techniques and showing you how you can use one stencil on two different sizes. So first, for the art journal page, this is my 7x10 Canson mixed media, and I'm going to apply color using my Inktense blocks. I'm selecting the colors, looking at my swatched out colors to pick the colors. And I'm using my Inktense blocks because right now I'm really enjoying that watercolory look. Now this page has been gessoed, and I am taking the three colors and scribbling them on. You can use the tips, you can use the sides of them, and as you can see, the Inktense blocks, they do break, but broken Inktense blocks still color. Then I'm just adding some water and activating them, blending as I want. I want to get that watercolory look. I'm taking some acetate and kind of smooshing it. I just want a very organic, soft, watercolory background. Now the Inktense blocks are water soluble, they're water activated, but they are permanent when they are dry because they are ink. They are not watercolor. And I've just recently rediscovered my Inktense blocks and I'm loving it. Here I'm taking that acetate, moving it around, getting that really organic feel to my background, and I used kind of a teal green, a yellow, kind of yellow oxide, and a quinacridone magenta color, and some of it's blended. It's made some browns. I'm good with that. Now once it's dry, once I like it, I dried it in place, and now I'm just adding a little bit more color, and you can see what's already dry behind it isn't reactivating. So this allows me to put a wash of color on top. Now I'm just playing here. I thought, oh, it'd be nice to get some crinkles in here using the plastic wrap. This doesn't really work out, but I do come back, and on the tag, I do use the plastic wrap technique. So stay tuned. Didn't really like the color. It got a little too dark for me, so I'm wiping it off. And if you do this fairly quickly, you can do that, especially when you've gessoed the surface. Now I'm just applying a little bit more. Now you already know that I'm putting penguins in, so the bottom half I want it to be kind of the snow, and the top half is the sky. Now, full disclosure, this is not turning out exactly how I had it in my head, but I'm playing with it as I go. If this really turned out into a mess, I could have put gesso, re-gessoed it on the bottom, and reapplied the color if I really wanted, if that really bothered me too much. But I'm just having fun with these colors, and I like that sky. By putting that acetate on there, I've gotten some textures and some patterns, and you really can't get that any other way. So I grab this, this is a sink liner, and I'm applying the Inktense block to the shelf liner. It's a little bit damp, then I spray it with water, and I'm using this when I'm stamping with the color from the Inktense blocks. And this is giving some wonderful marks, some wonderful textures to this background. I'm loving it. And this is, you know, I think this shelf liner wasn't $1, it wasn't $1.25, but it, you know, for $5 I have lots of it. And I'm applying it, drawing it in place when I like what I see. And I'm loving the patterning that I'm getting here with my DIY mark maker. Wiping it down, getting rid of anything that's there in case it's too mottled, and then reapplying. Just a little bit of water, and then apply it with the Inktense blocks. And you can use your Inktense blocks with any of your stamps in a similar way. There, we've got some darker marks. Loving, loving, loving this background. So I want to knock this back and soften it a little bit. So I'm using this watermelon seed stencil from the Crafter's Workshop, and I believe this is just white gesso. And I'm applying just a little bit here and there. I'm thinking it's going to resemble snowflakes to go with my penguins. And it's just knocking back some of that pattern a little bit and softening the page. I want to add some pattern and texture, so I'm putting white acrylic paint on my script stamp from the darkroom door, and I'm just stamping on it. I'm not trying to get a perfect stamp by any means, just a little bit of patterning. And white, again, to soften the page. Now, I played with the penguin stencil and cut it apart and played with the composition. And so I'm going to put a group of penguins at the top, kind of in the middle, and then down below. And this is how you can take one stencil and make it more on something that's larger. Now these penguins I think are about 2 inches tall. And I'm just going to stencil on here with the black acrylic paint. Now I'm stamping off, I'm dipping it in the paint and stamping off on my glass tabletop and applying little at a time. You don't want to get too much because then it's going to smudge. Loving how that black is showing up. So I flip the stencil here, and then you can get the inverse. So now sometimes when you flip the stencil and use the wrong side, the paint seeps under a little bit more. You may not get as precise, so you just kind of have to play with that and be careful. But you can always flip the stencil to get a different look. And then I just want 2 here. Now, if you want, you can mask off the parts that you don't want to get paint through with painter's tape. And then I'm putting the lines in for the snow at the bottom, just adding that here and there. Now at this time I'm looking, there's just so much, there's a little too much color, a little bit too much pattern, and we don't have a differentiation between the sky and the snow. I'm loving the colors, but I want a little bit more definition between that. So I'm taking white gesso, thinning it out, and I'm giving a wash wherever I'm deciding that the snow is going to be. I want to knock that back, soften those colors so that it looks more like snow. So right off the bat, that's made a difference. And I'm just keep adding a little bit more white, a little bit more white, another layer, till I get that differentiation between the snow and the sky. Letting it dry in between. I don't want to necessarily get rid of all the color. I like that the colors are the same. I'm letting that dry, and I'm going and I want to bring out the bellies of the penguins. So I am adding some highlights there with the white acrylic paint. And I love how that looks. I still left the color, so it's not like a white, true white belly on the penguin. There's color that matches the sky, but with the highlights of the white, it's just really added to it. And I keep building up this as I go till I get it to where I'm happy. So I keep adding it. Some of it's not on camera. I let it dry, then I look and say, is that enough? Do I need more? These penguins, they just have so much personality. This is a Crafter's Workshop stencil that was just released winter 2022 and will be available for sale mid-February of 2022. I absolutely love this. This is by the designer Carmen Medlin. I've always loved penguins and I was happy to see this one, and I've got tons of ideas. Here I'm taking that plastic wrap, dipping it in white acrylic paint and using it kind of as a stamp to get a little bit more white, some texture, some mark making in the background. All your mark making doesn't have to be from purchased supplies. And I'm going back in and adding more white. And you just keep tweaking it till you're happy. Then I want to do some more stamping with the script stamp and white acrylic paint. Again, this is just adding subtle texture, subtle pattern to the background. As of course I'm drawing in between. Now I'm edging the page with black, and this is really tying in with the black that's part of the penguins, and it'll be tie in with the sentiment that'll also have some black lettering. And then I use the black to bring out the lines in the snow. Now, I think if I was doing this again, I may have just used the dark green or a blue in here. I come back in and I do it with blue, but I may have just not done the black right off the bat. But that's why we do art journal. We figure these things out. Here I'm using my Inktense pencil and putting some blue underneath it. And then I go to the block that I used in the background, and I'm just using that to make the shadows in the snow. And I like that look. I'm just thinking I wouldn't have necessarily needed to do the black first. Live and learn. And then I'm adding some white highlights to the snow as well. A little more on the penguins. And then some splatter of snow across. Now, I was thinking about a sentiment, and I realized that a couple of the sentiments from my brand new sentiment pack, Winged Wonders, would work. I have two about wanting to fly. Penguins can't fly, I understand. So I decided I'm going to put this one, Don't Make Me Walk When I Want to Fly. And I'm putting it in the snow because I love that sky. I don't want to cover that up. And with that snow, there's a big pile of it there. I don't need to have that big bit of snow there. So I figured that was a better placement for it. What sentiment would you put for these penguins? Let's party. Then I decided I wanted to add some black, more black to the page. So I grabbed this Retrobursts stencil, also from the Crafter's Workshop. And I'll link these in the description box below in one of my affiliate or several of my affiliate stores. And you can go and check them out. I'm using black acrylic paint and using part of this stencil to make a border. And I wanted a little bit more black in there. So I'm giving that a good dry. Grabbing the Posca pen and outlining the sentiment. Now you could have easily left off the sentiment. For me, art journaling is about that. Mostly I have words. I wanted to add white to this border. So I'm just adding a circle of white in the middle of that pattern. Apologize, it's off camera. We come back in right away. So that is mostly done. So let's work on the tag. This tag has been gessoed, and I'm mixing quinacridone magenta, orange, and Naples yellow. And I'm watering it down a little bit because I am going to do the plastic wrap technique, where you get kind of the stained glass, broken glass kind of look. You wet it down, and then you kind of group that on and set it to dry. Now this has to be gessoed first for this to work. Then I'm going to set it aside and let it dry partially. Pulling off the thing, I had a little bit of the paper lift, and I just put color back in. And I'm edging this with black using the Ranger's blending tool. And then I'm using that same penguin stencil, but I'm only going to put 2 penguins here. Here I'm masking off the parts that I don't want to get. So I get a clean stencil, position it, and then black acrylic paint with a makeup sponge. So you could select any of those penguins, and then I'm just adding some of the lines in the snow. Here I'm going for that bold colors with black. And then I liked what I did on the art journal page, so I am going to highlight the bellies with white, although I'm going to primarily leave them the same color. I'm just going to soften it a little bit and highlight them on the penguin. Gave it a wash of white, so it's a little bit different than the background. And then I highlighted a little bit in the snow as well. And you can see that effect from the plastic wrap. And one of the sayings from my Winged Wonders set, which is angels, butterflies, dragonflies, and birds, born to fly. And it looks like this guy, you know, he's flapping his... Are they wings or are they, you know... Playing around with where do I want these. I spend so much time trying to figure that out. Grab this shelf liner, put a white acrylic paint, and then I am stamping with it. So another DIY stamp. We've got plastic wrap, we've got shelf liner and sink liner. Just add some fine stamping to the background and lighten the background a bit. And it looks like snow, right? And giving it a quick dry. I stamped some of that white over the edge, so I need to reapply. Gotta debate again where it's going to be. There are close-ups of the penguins, the page and this at the end of the video. And that'll give you an idea for different ways you can use that stencil. Gluing it down with fluid matte medium. This sentiment from my pack, I've shrunk this to about, I think, 50%. Outlining sentiment. So here we have the finished page. Love the soft colors. Love that sky, the patterning that's there. Love how this all came together. And here's the tag. Simple project. You can do multiple tags, all different background colors. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, go get creative.